I think, oh my God, the little ones, it's trading at 1 times next year's cash flow. One.
Mhm.
When's the market going to catch up to this? And when I look at these stocks, when I look at any stock these days, if somebody told me it's going to go up 5 times, I say, well, I'm not interested in that. I want a 10 bagger or a 20 bagger. And of course, I'm assuming the prices go up and stay up. And even in the case of gold, I don't even have to assume they're going to go up. They're already up.
Right.
When I look at the difference in margins today at $3,400 gold versus 2000, it's stunning. He's probably making 15 times more profit. 15. And the stocks really have not reacted as wholesomely as they could and will do because people are just starting to focus in on it. It's the one best performing group for sure. I think I read that the weighting of stocks, uh, gold stocks in all portfolios is like 0.25%. Okay.
Right.
And somebody
Right.
saying,
Right.
well, maybe you should have. And by the way, I have 90%. Okay. Just so everybody knows. Uh, and that percentage is going up fast these days because my cash ain't giving me nothing. And I don't have much cash, needless to say. But, you know, uh, but somebody's saying, well, you should have 2% in gold, which of course is a flimsy little participation. To get 2%, quite frankly, the stock's got to go up 8 times because there's probably hardly any net new issuance because, yes, the smaller companies are doing issues. The bigger companies are buying their shares back. And they're probably spending more money buying the shares back than the little companies are raising money because they're cash flowing $1 billion a quarter. And they all got stock buybacks and dividends and things like that. So anyway, I'd say it's the pool of stocks is shrinking. And we want people to have 8 times more in stocks. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? You got
Yeah.
to drive the price up by 8 times.
Yeah.
That's to
Uh,
get to 2%. When the average guy should be 10 or 20%.
Regarding the metals themselves,
Yep.
Eric, there's a lot of people that that think maybe the banks that have kind of managed the price for all these decades, once we broke out above 2000, just finally said we can't do this anymore. And I track the commitment of traders every week. Since February, the rally has been driven by commercial short squeezing, by commercials buying. The
Mm.
speculative position's been cut in half. It's the commercials that have been driving it by covering their shorts. There's thought now the same thing, we might be on the brink of that in silver. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Well, I think we are. And I do believe that it's been manipulated for the last 40 or 50 years. We see that. We know that 8 banks have most of the shorts. Well,
Yeah,
why banks? Why only 8? Why that big? I mean, there's no logical reason for it other
right.
than it was a market that they could mess around in because of their sheer size and uh, working together, working together. And now they realize that, which they saw happen in gold. Oh my God, people really want to buy this stuff, and they're buying it from us, and we don't have enough gold anymore. And we all know that in silver we've had a 200 million ounce shortage for the last 4 years. We'll have one again this year. People are taking gold off the COMEX and silver off the COMEX every day on the COMEX. Every day, the spot month trades some amount of metal that gets asked for delivery the next day. This never happened before. You and I have been around this. There were never any deliveries. Now
Right.
there's massive deliveries all the time.
Right.
And who's buying it? Well, I presume that they just have to buy it to cover their damn short. So I think silver, as Michael says, it's probably going to go to 50 very quickly here, 3 to 5 months. It can blow through here. I've never believed in the 100 to 1 ratio between gold and silver. Ever believed in it? Why did that happen? It's produced 8 to 1. It's in the Earth's crust, something like 10 to 1. Historically, as a currency, was 15 to 1. Why is it at 100 to 1? Why was it at 100 to 1? Because someone was manipulating it and suppressing it because it's a very important metal, silver, very important, particularly for the military. All those missiles that are being fired off around the world, they consume a lot of silver. And there's so many other uses. There's no sense me going into it. Everyone knows about that. But I think we're in a shortage situation in silver, and God knows how high it could go. If Michael's Oliver, I think his target on gold is 8,000, the way outside target. Well, if you went to 15 to 1, what would that be? Like $200, $400, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Those are, yeah, that's a very big number. Yeah, and I know again, you've been an advocate of this for so long. Um, that investment driver that you mentioned is probably something we should touch upon because there's this theme out there that somehow just because the price has gone up in gold, it's a crowded trade and the
Yeah.
price and it's overbought. But yet, in terms of, I mean, because you interact with
Yeah.
financial advisors, and big sell side and investment houses and stuff like that. Do you sense there's any, we call it mainstream involvement in the precious
Well,
metals yet?
I'm pretty certain they're looking because, and I've said this many times to you and then your listeners, um, if every day the computer spits out and says the best performing group was precious metals, next day, precious metals,
Yeah.
after a while, even the analyst who's reading this, and goes, well, what's with this precious metal stuff here? The fact that I don't even is silver up 50% this year and gold's up over 50%, something like that. I don't know what the hell the numbers are, but big numbers, okay, in a rather difficult stock market. And they will all come around. We see it now in one sense. When there are issues done for these smaller companies, they're very well subscribed, if not massively oversubscribed. So they're out there, okay, looking in. And when it comes to the metals, you know that the metal supply of gold only goes up 1% a year. One.
Right.
How the hell does somebody, come in and buy more gold when there's only 1% more gold that year? You don't get many guys in, okay? And as I just went through with the stocks might not even be growing, the number of shares that you can buy. They might be
Mhm.
shrinking. So it's not easy to get in. And that's why one can imagine we could see like outer worldly gains here. We've already seen it in lots of stocks, okay? I can't believe the number of times. Oh, gee, I think I have shares in that company. Let's go look and see what it's. Oh my God, it doubled. Some name I haven't even looked at in 5 years. And in the last two
Not you
months, it's
own.
doubled, right? And I can see why people are going there because people are getting interested in all kinds of metals too. Platinum, palladium,
Yeah.
rhodium. I hear about gallium,
Copper.
germanium, all kinds of copper. I mean, there's a move to get into these things. So it's a great time for us right now, and I think we'll have lots of days in the sunshine.
Yeah, yeah, again, yeah, you just wonder about just simple diversification because I've seen those stats too. I think it's Bank of America that puts them out.
Yeah,
You know what? 95% of all financial advisors have a less than 1% exposure for their clients in the precious
right,
metals.
right. Yeah,
Where
yeah,
where do you think? I mean, we've had this terrific run. Things, like Agnico is maybe tripled.
yeah.
I've got, there are others out there that keep their costs low, and so their
Sure.
margins keep widening.
Yeah.
I would think there's, price continues higher for gold, they're just going to continue to just print money every quarter. Where is where's the, in your mind,
Yeah.
is it, is the sweet spot now still with those big producers? Is it now moving more toward the juniors that maybe have lower costs? Are we ready exploration companies yet? Where are we?
Well, when you get a big move in the metal prices, which we've had in gold already, and we're experiencing now in silver, the best performing companies are the worst companies, the ones that everyone hated. In
Yeah.
fact, I had my controller phone me. It was, Eric, you lent some money and invested in this company called whatever it was called. Okay. And I'm thinking, yeah. And they had a resource, didn't they? I think they might have had 1,000,000 ounces. And this is probably 15 years ago, right?
You're
It's
like,
probably
I
1 gram,
remember
one
that
gram,
one.
or 1 or 2 grams. I said, oh my God. Well, that 1 gram, that would be profitable today.
Right.
Yeah, we better dust that file up. Let's look at that.
Wait a second.
Oh my God. Yeah, because the guy that's pretty, has the lowest grade, he's the guy benefiting most by the price going up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
He
yeah.
gets the most bang for the buck. So yeah, we're all moving down cap. Don't you worry. I mean, I would never own a big cap stock. Okay, that's just my thing because I think there's always more value in the smaller ones because they're neglected. And anything that's neglected is creating opportunities for you as an investor because people aren't adjusting to what's going on. I had a stock. I'm not going to mention the name, but he did a PEA and said his NAV was 300 million US at 1980 gold. At 2280, it went up by 200 million to 500. I said, well, I'm thinking, 22.80. It's 33.80 right now.
Right.
That's 5 more of those changes. Okay. It could be worth 2 billion now. And the market cap is 100 million. Then I'm saying, well, that's an extra 2 billion, by the way. Now I got them up to 3 billion. There's a 30 bagger. And that's before the price of silver goes to $50 or gold goes higher. So there's so many opportunities out there in these smaller companies that nobody's paying any attention to. And I know I continue to buy those kinds of stocks all the time.
What's the most, I just in like, hey, I want to kind of follow what Eric Sprott does. What are the most important things that you look at? Is it how you measure the ounces in the ground, or what are your key
Well,
metrics?
you know what I say it, and I know management always hates me when I said the most important things about precious metal company is the deposit.
Yeah,
That's the most important
the
thing.
resource itself.
The second thing is the price of the product and its outlook. Where's silver and gold going? And then I say, and maybe third is the management. But if you don't have the deposit and the metals aren't working for you, you're not going to accomplish much. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the two most important things. And unfortunately, a lot of managements, well, they take themselves pretty seriously, right? And they don't know where the price is going. And they think, well, that's up to the market to determine. No, you should know where the price is going. It's pretty important. Should you be making that acquisition? Well, where do you think the price of gold's going to be?
You would think.
You better have a view and not just well, we use conservative pricing over here. Okay, fine. You keep using your conservative price. I'll buy the stock. You can
I'll
buy it
buy
from
the
me later.
stock for you.
Anyway, so yeah, I think you can go down cap here now, okay? And you can buy things that look like they're going to be uneconomic 2 years ago that almost guaranteed are economic today. And maybe no one's even looking at them. So there'll be lots of opportunities like that. I haven't really gone down there hunting yet, but I do know that many's the time I said, okay, to let's say somebody, just give me a list of the size of deposits that people have. I want to know who's got the big deposits. So, for example, Highcroft, that I just participated in their issue, they got about 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent. I think it could get to 2 billion. And it was really low grade. I think it's like 0.4 gold, and I forget how many grams of silver it is, but it was low grade. But I'm sure it's profitable now,
Yeah.
with these prices where they are. And of course, now you got 1 billion ounces, and the market cap was 100 million, and you got potentially 2 billion ounces of silver that you can probably sell for 20 billion a profit now, and your market cap's 100. What am I missing here?
Yeah, I see the math on
That's a
that one.
200 bagger. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm following the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably using today's price of silver, not the $50 or 60 or 70, I imagine, and higher and higher. You don't have to pay big prices to get in this game. That's a levered game. It's a levered game to the upside, all in your favor, in my mind.
How confident are you? Just in price, because it got like differing views make a market. I see people on Twitter all day long that say, "Oh,
Yeah,
gold's got to come back to its 200-day
yeah,
moving average," and
yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm more confident in silver, okay, because I
Okay,
see the shortage. Okay, there's 200 million ounce shortage. I see no increase in production. I
right.
see taking long times to get approval for new mines. I see that only 25% of this are silver mines. Most of the silver is produced from non-silver mines. So, and I see these uses when I think of what's going on in the solid state batteries that they're going to use in electric vehicles. And I think when they prove their merit, i.e., you can go 1,000 kilometers and it takes you, 10 minutes to fill it. I think it's going to change the whole economics of the electric vehicle here, and it's all metal, right? And it's lots of different metals. So the outlook for silver is just astounding when I think of all the solar applications, the battery applications, the battery storage applications. We're going to be lots of people are going to be storing more electricity now, and that takes up a lot of metals. So I'm quite excited about the fundamentals for silver, and I can fall back on it used to trade at 15 to 1. It is produced 8 to 1. Why was that at 100 to 1?
Yeah.
There is no and when you go to the COMEX, there's 8 big banks short all the metal. It's just screaming at you that there's something kooky going on here. And look how fast it's corrected itself. I think even the silver ratio might be down to 90-1 now already,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Mm-hmm.
if it gets to 50, we'll be down to whatever, 60-1 or something. So
What's the best way for, I mean, we'll get into the stocks a little bit in a second.
yeah,
For just, average regular people,
yeah.
like
I
me
look
and
at
others. I
here.
mean, physical.
I bought a lot of ETFs. Okay. I bought the
Okay.
SIL. I like the SILJ, the
Mm-hmm.
junior silver stocks. I own a lot of junior silver stocks, okay? But there's a lot of liquidity in SILJ. Like I can buy $4 million worth in a day and I don't move the stock. If I want to go buy a junior mining stock, like forget it. Just put a bid on the floor for 10,000 shares and it'll be up 10%.
Yeah.
And everybody will be front running you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the other funny thing about our markets, right?
Right.
The stock markets don't function well. And that's why we've all gone to ETFs because you can trade them in size. You don't move them around that much, or you don't distort the pricing.
Which gives us a lot more chance in the future to visit and keep everybody up to date. It's always so much fun to talk to you, my old friend. I know we don't do it as frequently as we used to, but I know
And
everybody sure values the time that you do spend bringing us up to date. And like we always do, I just very much
yeah,
appreciate you taking the time to talk today.
yeah, thank you. I feel like my exuberance is a little bit justified now.
Yeah, you think?
It's going
You
pretty
know,
good.
we mentioned a couple of your stocks. There are people on Twitter, and that CEO.ca, that
Yeah,
Canadian website, aren't
so
there
you know
folks on
that.
there
Yeah,
that try to keep track of everything that you're doing?
yeah. I think somebody on X does. I think it's called Sprott Folio,
Are
and
those mostly accurate, do you think?
yeah, I think they're accurate. They know
Okay,
exactly what I own, and they
there
know
you go.
exactly what those things have gone up by in a year or
So,
6 months. So it's been a reasonably good year so far.
hey, you want to find out more of what Eric owns and what he's looking at and what he's adding to and all that kind of stuff? There are sources out there that people have done this work for you.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Okay, man.
The other thing I'd want to just remind everybody, it is still mid-June. We've still got more content coming this month. We'll wrap up. It's really, Eric, we didn't even talk about this. What an important month the next couple of days are going to be because we stand
Oh,
on the precipice of maybe the highest monthly close of all
yeah,
times, maybe even the highest quarterly close of all time.
yeah.
The significance
I,
of that for
I,
price. What do you?
I should have warned people of something. The calls that are in the money, calls that are in the money on SLV are monstrous.
Yes,
Now
that's what I
that's
said
not a good
yesterday.
thing.
Yeah,
That's not a good thing, okay?
right.
Because the guy on the other side of it is the banker, okay? He's going to work to get that thing down for June 30th, okay? It's quarter end, but he's got so much money on the table that if this silver thing keeps going up, he's going to be in big trouble. I think we might have 100 million shares of calls on SLV expiring on the 30th of the month. So
And
it could be wild and crazy.
there's some here this coming Friday, the monthly New York Stock
Fair
Exchange
chunk.
expiration,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the end of the quarter and the end of the month in London, all that stuff. But again, boy, Eric, the significance of a new, gosh, if somehow it does, new quarterly all-time
Oh yeah.
high,
Oh
that
yeah.
would be significant, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows. Like in fact, in the case of silver, if it closes at I think something like 37.58,
Yeah.
somebody
Yep.
pointed this out, that it
Yep.
would be a quarterly record high. No, it
Yes.
would be a forever record high close
Yes.
for a month. For a
Yes.
month. Because those 2 times they did 50, of course, it went right down immediately
Right.
because they worked it over, right?
Yeah.
They didn't close at 50. The high close was 37.58, I think. So we got a few days to see whether we can make it. Unfortunately, the last day of the month is going to could be chaotic.
Well,
We'll
and
see.
unfortunately, if I can see this and you can see this,
Yeah, I don't do
um,
anything about it. I try to ride it out. Okay. I can't be moving stuff around like that. In
yeah.
fact, I'll probably try to be a buyer of silver on June 30th
Yeah.
at 3:30 in the afternoon
Hmm.
if they're knocking it down.
Hmm.